Hello and welcome. A while ago, I picked up this cheap train set that I found at a garage sale for only $8. I recognized it for exactly what it was, a cheapest of the cheap train set, and an old one at that. So, why did I buy it? Well, this set and a number of others made under the same brand are rather interesting. This is the Wintersville Express set, and it was made by a company called New Bright in the late 80s and into the 90s, with mine being made in 1996. This set was rebranded as several other sets, some with Christmas themes and others with a Wild West theme. They all come with the same locomotive, at least one passenger car and a caboose. I was curious if these actually fit any known scale, since they're a little bigger than HO but smaller than O. A quick measurement and calculation revealed that its track gauge is almost exactly 1/64th scale or S scale. This set happens to be the very lowest tier set, only coming with 3 straight sections and 6 curves. This by itself doesn't offer a whole lot of expandability and is only meant to go around a tree. However, I realized that I actually had some track for one of the other variants of this set that came with several more straights and some more curves. These segments were originally meant to make an oval as part of what I think was the so-called Western Express, a non-Christmas themed version of this train set that came with a slightly bigger oval of track because it wasn't Christmas themed. Using these expanded segments, I was able to build more complex arrangements of loops. But let's talk about the locomotive here. The locomotive and tender are linked together, and the batteries are stored in the tender. It takes 4 AA batteries and has an on-off switch on top behind the coal. The train only has one speed, and it's tricky to get going because pressing the switch to start it often causes the tender to derail. Once it's going, the engine features a headlamp and no reverse. These trains also have a little mechanical noisemaker unit inside that provides a bit of sound. But really, that's it. This set is pretty unremarkable. Wondering how I could improve this little train, I pulled out a broken RC car with the controller and electronics still intact. Turns out that these trains are perfect candidates for RC upgrades. This is something that I haven't seen anyone do before, especially with these obscure trains. The controller I had would allow the train to run forward and reverse with speed control, which would be a huge improvement. These little guys aren't hard to open, and they aren't complicated either. The inside just houses a small motor, and the light is even soldered right to the motor leads. So I desoldered the motor and light and soldered them to some pretty heavy-duty wires which I ran to the RC control unit. I then cut a small notch in the boiler and cab to allow the motor wires to run out, as they were thicker than the old ones. I ran the light leads separately as the RC car had lights on it, so I attached the light for the locomotive to the same port. In the tender, I removed the old switch and battery terminals to make room for the new 7.2 volt battery that came with the RC car. This took some drilling and cutting to make it work, but I was able to fit the RC unit in the front of the tender and leave room for the battery in the rear. I ended up changing to some thinner motor wires because the yellow ones I used originally prevented proper movement of the tender and derailed the train a lot. I was even able to use the same power switch location for the on-off switch and used a push-button one that came with the RC car. Lastly, I added some weights to the locomotive to help with traction. After putting it all back together, I set up a test track outside in the dirt and took the train out to test. The speed control is great to have, especially when driving over uneven track. The ability to go in reverse means that point-to-point operations are now possible, which is great since you would need a lot of track to make any kind of loop outside. Of course, operations on uneven dirt aren't flawless, and it still derails sometimes. But the ability to control speed and direction makes bigger point-to-point tracks a lot of fun. I will be on the lookout for these sets in the future, especially because there's a bigger set that includes some switches and a station, which would be great for complex track arrangements. So, even though they are a bit plain at first, without much effort and time I was able to make this train a lot more functional, basically for free. That's it. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. More videos to come, so stay tuned and bye for now.